There's a well-known saying, all roads lead to Rome, and just like it's saying, it happens to be true. That's at the heights of its power, which is said to be in the 2nd century, as per historians. There are historical records of Roman merchants and adventurers who made it to Africa, Scandinavia, India, and even China. While some of them would have been motivated by pure wanderlust, others would have set out on such long, difficult, and even dangerous journeys with the thought of achieving glory and wealth. If you are curious to find out about the expansion of the Roman Empire, then today's Culture Emissary episode is for you. Romans Abroad, exploring the most distant places visited. Let's explore! Before the time of the ancient Greek philosopher Plato, the Greek scholars already knew of the whole span of the sea. That's from the Pillars of Hercules to the Nile Delta. The coast had also been divided into the 3 continents, which is Europe, Africa, and Asia. Mapmakers became familiar with the Middle East and Central Asia thanks to Alexander the Great's campaigns. And the Romans, on the other hand, with their extended conquest and vast network of trades, became aware of the Old World. During the mid-2nd century, that polymath Claudius Ptolemy had introduced a map of the known world and had systematically assigned latitudes and longitudes to around 8,000 places across the 3 continents. According to Ptolemy's coordinates, the map seemed to be a wide one, which was stretching from Spain to western China. While the Romans knew that there was a whole world out there waiting to be discovered, they also knew that the world was round. Thanks to the Greek polymath and head of the library of Alexandria, Eratosthenes. He's the first person known to calculate the circumference of the Earth, which he had done by using the extensive survey results he could access in his role at the library, and his calculation was remarkably accurate. He was also the first to calculate Earth's axial tilt, which has also proved to be accurate. He created the first global projection of the world, incorporating parallels and meridians based on the available geographic knowledge of his time. And even though the journey was difficult, the Romans ventured deep into the blank spaces of Ptolemy's map. So what distant places did the Romans explore? Arabia. The Roman presence in the Arabian Peninsula had its foundations in the expansion of the empire under Augustus and continued until the Arab conquests of Eastern Roman territory from the 620s onward. The volume of commerce between Rome and India via Red Sea and Arabian Sea was huge since the conquest of Egypt by the Romans in 30 BC. It's said that each year 120 Roman vessels sailed from Berenice Troglodytica and many times touched southern Arabia Felix, modern-day Yemen, the land of frankincense and myrrh, on their travel to India. Anyway, by 107 AD, Roman legions were stationed in the area around Petra and Bostra, according to evidence found. The Roman Empire gained what became the province of Arabia Petraea, that's modern southern Jordan and northwest Saudi Arabia. Africa. Africa, in the state of the Roman world, refers to territory north of the Sahara Desert stretching from Libya in the east to Morocco in the west. With the exception of Egypt, it includes all of the region now considered North Africa, but excludes the lands below the Sahara Desert that are now recognized as the remainder of Africa. Africa was controlled from 146 BC to 439 AD, during which the region was controlled by Rome. Roman control of Africa began with the destruction of Carthage and the takeover of the land it ruled in the aftermath of the Third Punic War, and ended nearly 6 full centuries later when Vandal invaders completed their conquest of Africa, once again in its biggest city, Carthage. Spain. Hispania. In Roman times, the region comprising the Iberian Peninsula, now occupied by Portugal and Spain. When the Romans took the peninsula from the Carthaginians in 206 BC, they divided it into 2 provinces. Hispania Ulterior, present Andalusia, Extremadura, southern Leon, and most of modern Portugal. And the other was Hispania Citerior, or Tarraconensis, all of what is now northern, eastern, and south-central Spain. Under Augustus's reign, Hispania Ulterior was further divided into Lusitania, which is Portugal and part of western Spain, and Baetica, which is Andalusia and southern Extremadura. The Romans conquered Spain for nearly 700 years. Britain was part of the Roman Empire for over 3.5 centuries. Julius Caesar was the first agent of Rome to invade Britain, doing so when Rome was in its republic government during 55 BC. In 43 AD, the Roman Emperor Claudius launched an invasion of Britain for the first time in the Common Era. Vespasian, who initially served as general to one of the legions deployed by Claudius, led the Second Legion through the lands of Sussex and Hampshire. The Roman rule over Britain ended in the early 5th century. Asia. The province of Asia originally consisted of the territories of Mysia, the Troad, Aeolis, Lydia, Ionia, Caria, and the land corridor through Pisidia to Pamphylia. The Aegean Islands, with the exception of Crete, were part of the province of Asia. The western part of Phrygia was added to Asia in 116 BC. Lycaonia was added before 100 BC, while the area around Sybera was added in 82 BC. The southeast region of Asia province was later reassigned to the province of Cilicia. During the empire, the province of Asia was bounded by Bithynia to the north, Lycia to the south, and Galatia to the east. The province was also rich in natural resources, and its dyestuffs and woolen textiles were famous. Its prosperity was ruined under the Roman Republic by commercial exploitation, taxation, and war, so that its advance toward Hellenization and urbanization, begun under the Seleucid and Pergamene kings, was impeded. Most communities welcomed Mithridates VI of Pontus as a liberator from Roman oppression. China. Following the opening of the Silk Road in the 2 BC, the Chinese under the Han Dynasty thought of the Roman Empire as a civilized counterpart to the Chinese Empire. Trade between China and the Roman Empire was not a one-way street. The Chinese imported glassware, rugs, amber, and sea silk. These goods likely entered China through the port of Oc Io, located near present-day Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam. Roman coins and glassware were found even in Japan. It's believed that the Romans did not invade China or Japan because of the major distance between the empires and the lack of knowledge about the Far East. From its founding in 625 BC to its fall in AD 476, the Roman Empire conquered and integrated dozens of cultures. So what are your thoughts on Romans abroad? Exploring the most distant places visited. Share your views below and stay tuned for our exploration of another fascinating culture on Culture Emissary.